Okay, good morning. I'm Nick from Boatability, and we're doing a quick review for the Marine Superstore on this new Standard Horizon HX891BT, i.e. for Bluetooth. It meets all the normal standards. It's a DSC radio, which means digital selective calling. So you can, with this, you've got the distress calling capability, which a lot of handhelds, normal handhelds, don't tend to have unless you're going the upper market like this one is. 3-year warranty on it. It's got a man overboard location, return navigation system, etc. So without further ado, let's have a look and see what it's like inside the box. Okay, before we get started in entering MMSI numbers and things, is when we got the radio, it was on about, I think it's about a quarter full on the actual battery. So what we'll do is let it run down a bit, and then we'll see how long it takes to charge. So charging the system, obviously we need to put it together, or the radio I should say, is we've got our plug. So I would imagine that's pretty standard on here. So you've got a little, so you can do it left or right hand sided on the sides there. So that just plugs into the middle there, if you can see. So I'll put it in that way. So you can we'll go out the left hand side. So that's on there, and then we can just plug that in. Now, quite interestingly, you can also use AAA batteries in it. So let's have a quick look, see how that works. So on the bottom, it looks like obviously that comes off. So let's just have a quick butcher. So it says press, and that looks like a lock. So if it is, slide that down, and if we push that, oh, yeah, there you go, that opens up. Oh, well, I'll put the thing on there. So then you've got your battery in here, which obviously replace the battery with and take 6 AAAs, put that in there, and then you can obviously run it should you not have power or anything like that on your boat. So that's quite a useful little feature. Okay, and like I say, the other thing we can do is plug it in there into the charger. Same connection. I'd imagine that goes into the same place, so we can charge it that way as well. Okay, right, let's get back to you in a minute. Now, you've just got to explain the bits. We've added the lanyard. As you saw us add all the other bits. So we've got the on-off button, we've got the press to talk button, and we've got the squelch button. I'll come back to that in a bit. So these are menu buttons across the top. This helps you move through the menus, left and right, up and down. Obviously, you've got your volume buttons, but you can also change channels on this one. We can also lock the keypad, so you're not inadvertently changing channels. And we can clear the information that we're adding or go back to home screens, etc. 16, so you've got that there because it's the most important button. And then you've got the menu and set button. So anything that you see on a VHF that has 2 options is menu. That will just take you to its home menu. If you want to go into the settings, you push and hold it about 2 seconds and it will take you into a different menu. And this one has a little light, so you can set that up to flash SOS. You can have it just strobing, or you can have it constantly on, and that's your microphone. These are your charging points. So when it's in its charging cradle, point to note, if you're out on the sea like we are all the time, and you're getting covered with sea spray, these can corrode quite easily. So it's always worthwhile. They're waterproof. Wash it off when you get back and dry it off, and maybe put a little bit of conductive grease on it or a touch of WD-40 just to make sure that it doesn't corrode, so you're getting good charging. Yeah, so all in all, pretty good. So for us, when we first opened up the radio or the box, this note was on top of the packaging, and as it says here, you need to set the radio for the country that you're in, because they do different things. For example, in the UK, we have channels M and M2, or some people call it M1. So to get that radio there, as it says here, we need to have the transceiver off, which it is, and it says press and hold the menu and the 16 button, and then, which I'm doing, and then switch the on-off button, which it comes on, and now it goes into, I can set it to international. You can see we've already set it to UK. So just to show you, I can move that up and down, Belgium, Netherlands, so UK. So again, if you're traveling abroad, useful little tool. Now press select. So that says it's selected, UK, OK, and then that switches off and it should switch back on as it has done. And now we're just on 15. I'm just going to switch it back to 16. Now the P means I've set that as a priority channel. So channel 16 is very important, and always make sure that if you're on handhelds and also on DSC radios on board, that you're always on channel 16. If you look across the menus here, if I now move these arrows across, you can see there's one that says dual watch. If I now click on there, that is now watching channel 16 and we're using channel 11. So that's what I've told the radio I want to use to talk and listen to. But if anyone makes a mayday call or there's information comes on 16, it will hear it. But you'll notice we've got no GPS because we're indoors. It can't pick up the signal. So I can only show so much on this. Now you notice that this screen went off. I've set this radio in the settings to switch off after 30 seconds. It's very easy to do. You just look for lamp and it will just switch it off. I've got preset channels and so on. As you can see, it's even got an FM radio. This one's also Bluetooth, so I can talk it, get it to connect to headsets and things like that. Memories, man overboard marker on here. That's quite useful because if you hit that, that places a waypoint, and this radio will actually navigate you back to that waypoint. Again, a useful feature. So moving through the things of relevance is you've got, as I said, the key buttons here, the light, the microphone, volume up and down. Now, the trouble with the volume up and down, you may not hear it that clearly on my microphone, but another way of testing how good your volume is, what I tend to use, even though it's not designed for that, is if I go down to the squelch button here, if I push that, that comes on squelch, and I can now, if I move that across, so I can go, let's press it again, I can go up or down. If I go down, it starts to make a noise. So the squelch, and you could see the channel, it will start flashing. Okay, so if I now, if I go up too much on the squelch, then it also tends to affect the signal as well. So it's almost like fine tuning, but its main purpose is removing noise, but it stopped making the noise on level 1. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Yeah, so all in all, like I say, it's waterproof, it floats, Bluetooth, it's got a radio. So if we go to the menu, so a lot of it is quite straightforward. So on here, you've got the DSC call, as we've already shown. You've got the group monitoring. So group monitoring allows us to essentially monitor a group of MMSI numbers. So an example of that is, say you've got a yacht club and it's got 20, 30 yachts. You can only have on these particular radios 10 or up to a maximum of 9 people on one group. But I can have 10 groups. So I could add all of their details under one of the groups. And the beauty of this is I could call up to 10 boats, or is it, 9 boats in one hit. So if they're all, as long as they've all got the same group MMSI number, which you apply to Ofcom for, is quite a useful feature. But for most sort of leisure users, they're not going to use it. I've then got your GPS. So in here, I can go in there, look at the status. It's got a compass, but obviously I need the GPS to play with. Navigation, so I can go into navigation on here. So if we move there and select that one, so I can add a route or I can add a waypoint. So back, and then MMSI, position, information, select. So that's our MMSI, and it's got its position. So if anyone asked, I can go into there quite easily. So let's have a look at the sort of main features why people will be buying these radios. Is you've got a distress button. So on here, if I push the distress button once, it comes up with undesignated, no position, because I haven't got GPS. So it's saying hold for 3 seconds. So don't hold that for 3 seconds because you will send a distress. Okay, and even though it's a small radio, depending, all other boats that are nearby will pick that up. But clearly, if there's something wrong with me, i.e. I'm on fire, I'm sinking, the more information I can give, the better. So to do that, normally you can see down here, we've got, go back to the menu and it says call. So I'm just going to move that up, and I'm going to move that across, and I'm going to press select. So now I've got individual, so I can call another vessel. Group, I can call a group of vessels, providing I belong to the same group MMSI number. All ships, so I can go into the all ships one just to have a look, and I can send a safety announcement, which would be a security, or an urgency announcement, which would be a PAN. So under those ones is, again, if you need more information on this, please give us a call at Boatability. We can sort you out with a VHF radio license, the user's license that is. Then you've got on here, very useful. So say, for example, I've got someone on another boat that I know, and I've got their details set in my radio. I can then ask them for where they are. For example, if I go position request, they're going to be in my memory. So I'm going to move that down to memory, select. Team 1, for example, select. And then do you want to transmit a call? So to team 1, it's not going to do anything. So I press yes, that's now transmitted. If they were in the vicinity, not only that, it would now answer me and give me their position, which is pretty useful. So back to the menu. So DSC call again. So like on here, I can go to position report. I can send my position. And then if I scroll down, I've got distress alert message. I'll come back to that. Auto position polling. So it just follows the position. DSC log. Now that is really, really useful. The DSC log is if any information has come through, if I press select, and it will be transmitted. So distress, other call, log details, or log delete. So if I go down to other call, I don't think anyone's called us, but we've got one from team 1. I can select there, gives you your information, and it will basically give you all the information that we need, which we acknowledged. But I don't need that, so I'm going to delete it. Yes, so that's deleted that. And then I've got another message from team 1 that we were playing around with earlier on. Delete, I don't need it. Yes. So where that is useful is, as you can see here, any distresses that have been transmitted, you select and there's nothing in there, is it will give you, providing their radio set up correctly, it will not only give you their MMSI number, it will also give you their position. So now if I needed to make a Mayday relay call, that's where I could go and find it. So, you know, yes, it's all good and well writing it down, but if you make a mistake, it's very easy to send them off in the wrong direction. Whereas this, it's literally in there. Okay, so you can actually repeat that. And the other very useful tool on here is DSC test. So again, I could do this with another radio, or potentially the Coast Guard. I'd check first to see if they're happy with that, or the Harbour Authority. If they're in my details, so as you can see here in the memory, we've got team 1 and team 2. I can select that. Do I want to do a test call? Yes. And all they do is their radio will alarm their side. They respond. Your radio answers to say that they've responded, which is now proved the digital side of the radio. Obviously, I can call them on using the PTT, and that will prove that the voice side of it's working as well. So just go back to the call again, select. So as I said, we'll go down to the distress. So if I need to make a distress and I want to say that I'm on fire or something like that, press select and it says undesignated. So now if I press nature across the middle there, I can now select what's wrong with me. As you can see, undesignated, fire, explosion, flooding, collision, grounding, capsizing, sinking, adrift, abandoning, and piracy, and man overboard. Man overboard tends to be the last one, and these are all generic across the radios that I've ever come across. Okay, so you select what you want, and then all you do is you selected it, man overboard, the nature, and then basically you hold the distress button for 3 seconds. It now sends who you are, where you are, and what's wrong with you. So a really, really useful tool. Okay, so the reason I've got the alarm there, it says position data is not updated, because we haven't got GPS. Okay, so I'm going to clear that and we're back to square one. So overall, we've been using the radio quite a bit. It was on half when after a little charge. Charges pretty quickly, I might add. And we're also on high power. So I can even change that. So if I move across, so it says transmit power, select that, and you'll see at the top it says HI. I can go medium, MD, or mid, and I can go to low power. If you can get away with it, always use low power, but we're going to do trials on this in a bit, so we're going to leave it on high power. So just adding a little bit more to the distress option, because obviously most people will want these things for safety, i.e. if they're in trouble. If you are playing with the radio and let's say you've sent a distress and then you need to cancel it, unlike a lot of radios, this radio actually has an option for you to cancel that distress, which is good. But if you receive a distress from another vessel, what is really interesting on this one is it will say to waypoint. So by clicking on that button, obviously I can't show you because we haven't got a distress on it, but this will then place a waypoint at their position and give you a course to navigate to them, which then you can select the compass on it, which I think that's a very useful feature. So yeah, so all in all, yeah, it's a good all-round bit of kit, I think. I'll say the downside with most of them though is the range. Thank you. Right, let me try this.
Explorer, Top Cat over.
Yeah, loud and clear, how me?
Explorer Top Cat, a little bit of interference, but you're still legible over.
That's 2 miles, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty good over. Right, so what you just saw was 2 miles away, so 2 nautical miles. And as you heard, it was pretty legible, like you could still hear the words that Nick was saying. So it's the big brother to the one we tested last time, and it definitely beat it. I think that one we got up to about 1.2 nautical miles. This one's 2, so it's definitely doing better. And obviously you have the benefit of the DSC function as well. So overall, very good radio.
Solid.